My sister's boyfriend posted about terrifying me to prove not all men are bad, and when I showed her the evidence, she blamed me for making him uncomfortable. Posted by you/throwRApartnerprobss. First and foremost, I will not be sharing my brother-in-law's username. I know this will cause most people to call this post fake, but his account has a lot of private information about many members of my family, including what are essentially dox bins and other private details. He does not know I know about this account, and I don't want anyone to go to his account to leave comments or message him. I'm 21F. My sister, Jane, 28F, has been with John, 27M, for 2 years. I found his account totally randomly. I googled his name, as he's a journalist, and found a Reddit account with the same name. Think John_Doe_is_dead_1997. I clicked on it and found tons of Reddit posts ranting about his girlfriend's family, mainly her little sister. At first, I thought I just came across a random, disturbed individual, but clicking on the posts revealed more. Both my sister and I have unique names. Not super rare, but uncommon enough that they're noticeable in a list of names, and neither of us have met anyone with the same names as us. Plus, our surnames aren't super basic either. Think Aurora Fernsby, fake, but similar to myself. He also mentions enough personal details for it to be undeniably him. I wouldn't be writing this unless I was 99% sure. The posts are all either posted to vent/rant subreddits, or straight to his Reddit page. They all have 0 to 3 upvotes and a few comments spread across what I can tell to be 100 posts. They're all mostly complaining about Jane, me, or our mother. The most concerning post is about me, though. I have a varied past with men, mainly influenced by SA. I'm in therapy, but it has made me more wary around men I do or don't know. This, apparently, enrages John. In this post, he details how he plans to offer to drive me home next time I visit them, but instead of taking me home, he'll detour and take the scenic route through the country lanes in our town. He says he wants to make me afraid enough that I'll do something to her, but after 15 or so minutes, he'll turn around and drive me home. This is supposed to show me that not all men are creeps and want to hurt her. His logic seems to be that, since he acted weird but didn't hurt me, it should click in her brain that not all men are bad. The post is very long, like scrolling down for 15 seconds long, but he rants about how it's unfair that I flinch around him when he makes big gestures or yells at the TV because he'd never do anything. He says he can fix me more than my therapist. A lot of the post is weird, incel-like talking points. I was bawling reading the whole thing. There is one comment telling him to get help, but John just responds, "I don't need help." She does. His comment history is also concerning. A lot of weird incel talking points, which doesn't make sense as he has a girlfriend. I'm not super versed in incel ideology. There's also a lot of stuff about SA, women's roles in relationships/society, and other races, ethnicities, religions, etc. I'm terrified of John. We weren't close before, but we didn't hate each other. To me, he was just a grown man with vastly different interests, and we would never mesh cleanly. Now, I don't know what to think. My mind is frazzled. I'm going to tell my sister, but I don't know how. I have screenshots of everything, links, etc. I just don't know how to lay it all out. Also, I need coping mechanisms. I'm in a constant state of pre-panic attack. I can feel it in my chest, but it's not tipping over into a full panic attack, which is making me genuinely crazy. Sorry for the long post. Thanks in advance. Edit, as of 2 hours ago, I made my mother and uncle aware of what I found. Every screenshot, screen recording, and link. My sister is currently on a work trip, so we're waiting for her to come back in 2 days. His account is still up as of 20 minutes ago. Thanks for all your advice. My mother, uncle, and I are figuring out the best way to tell my sister. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I did not want to be the first comment here. This is so much to unpack. Do you think your sister will believe you? Talk to your parents or family first. They should hear about your fear before they hear from your sister that you're talking negatively. Is your sister safe? I have no clue what else to say other than I'm going to come back in case anyone has coping mechanisms for your pre-panic attack thing. I'm experiencing the same thing, and it's also driving me insane. Pre-panic attack is a good way to describe it. I've been struggling with it for years, but there's no medical term for it, so thanks for giving it a name. OP, is your sister safe? This is why I want to tell her as soon as possible. Because I don't know. Not anymore, anyway. They seem happy together, but now I'm rethinking everything. Thanks for your advice. Smile. Commenter 2, why is he so obsessed with you? He has a girlfriend and prefers to vent about you. Are you that close to him? He is not in a normal place mentally. Show the text to your sister and mother. He can be abusive to your sister. OP, we're not close. I live closer to my sister than any of our family, so I see her and him fairly often. But I never go to see him. He's usually just there, which is fair because it's his home too. But I never go with the reason of hanging out with John, just my sister. We're not close. We don't have much in common but get along well enough. I had no interest in being his friend or anything before, for many obvious reasons, but especially now. I have no idea why he's so obsessed with me. It's freaking me out. Commenter 3, how does he know so much about your trauma? Who told him? That's a very important question to solve beforehand. OP, last year, when I was SA at my now ex, I ended up calling John to pick me up because my ex lived in a different city and was supposed to give me a ride back. I had a breakdown in his car and told him what happened. I hadn't intended to tell anybody about what happened, but I couldn't keep it in. Also, my sister and I both witnessed abuse from our father, which I'm sure she told John about, and he, correctly, assumed I was also affected. Commenter 4, does this mean your parents aren't safe advocates in this situation? OP, no, not at all. I'm planning on telling my mother too. The no telling anyone about the SA comment was more of a spur of the moment, traumatized, and mortified 19-year-old reaction. OP responds to a troll? But I don't think all men are evil. John literally just projected that onto me. He wrote that assumption in a post where he detailed, graphically, how he wanted to make me fear for my safety to fix me because he's upset I have trauma and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And I'm somehow as creepy as he is and terrifying? I would love a deep dive into how you came to that conclusion, because reading some Reddit post doesn't feel the same as what John is doing or planning to do. Update. 2 months later. As I mentioned in my last post, I had made my mother and uncle aware of the situation. We all agreed that waiting for Jane to come home from her work trip to tell her was the best course of action. When she got back, we sat her down to explain everything. I showed her the screenshots, the posts, and walked her through everything John had said. She was quiet at first, just reading through the messages with this shocked look on her face. Then she started accusing me of overreacting or somehow getting the situation wrong. She said that maybe John was just venting and didn't actually mean any of it. She also suggested that I might be reading too much into his posts because of my past trauma. My mother and uncle tried to step in and back me up, but Jane wasn't having it. She kept saying that we were blowing things out of proportion and that we didn't understand John like she does. At this point, she was getting really upset, and we were all talking over each other. Then Jane said that I've always been distant from John and that maybe he felt uncomfortable around me because of how I act. At that point, I was done. I made it clear that if she decided to stay with him, I would have to limit my contact with both of them. My mother and uncle backed me up on this, and we all said that we couldn't trust John to be part of our lives anymore after seeing what he wrote. Jane stormed out of the house after that. She's barely spoken to me since, except for a couple of cold texts saying she needs to process the situation. On Monday, it's Wednesday today, Jane showed up at my door, completely unannounced. She looked like she hadn't slept, and the first thing she did was apologize. I was shocked because I wasn't expecting her to come around so quickly. She told me that after she left, she couldn't stop thinking about the posts, and she started going back over everything in her head. She said she told John about the situation, and when I went to check, all his stuff had been deleted. This annoyed both me and my mother, who was on the phone, as we had told Jane to keep quiet for safety reasons. Luckily, I have all the evidence saved. She said that John had blocked me on everything to preserve his career and that he was super pissed off with me for stalking him. He even told my sister that the account wasn't his, but rather someone at work who hates him. I obviously don't know everything that happened between them, but it's caused a rift between them. I've moved in with my uncle for the time being, as I was afraid of John showing up these first few nights. We looked into legal options regarding the posts, but found nothing that would help us. My uncle said he's going to help me get in contact with John's work, but I'm scared of John's reaction if I do that. As of now, my sister isn't totally settled on leaving John, so I've gone low contact with her. She said her reason for staying with John is because she just can't see him acting like this. Luckily, I have friends and family who are on my side.